Telling you. So look, since Mary Hart got up here yesterday morning, starting with her, and every speaker that has spoken has just hit the nail on the head. And, I've listened real closely, and my whole talk's been given already, every slide. So hopefully I'll say it a little bit differently, and maybe it'll make better sense. A few years ago, I used to own a bunch of H&R Block franchises, and the first year they make you go to these new franchisee training deals. And the first year I went, as a new franchisee, the next year they asked me to come and teach new franchises. And there was a guy up there, and he was talking about client-concentric thinking. And I'm looking at all the folks in there that are from the little rural towns in America that had bought H&R Block franchises, and their head was turned up like a little puppy that heard a strange sound. And so when I got a chance to go behind that guy, I said, client-concentric thinking, we might not know what that is, but the way we say it where I come from, if you want to buy what Jimmy Jones buys, if you want to sell what Jimmy Jones buys, you got to see the world through Jimmy Jones' eyes. And so hopefully I'll say things a little bit different. Real quick, I found a big old wad of $100 bills back there earlier. Had a rubber band around it. So whoever lost that, if you'll see me afterwards, I got your rubber band. That's about my only joke today. But, since Mary Hart and all the speakers have just done a fantastic job, but there's a couple that touched me. And since everybody has already given my talk, I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning, and I came up with another 45 minutes, and that's just my first slide. And it's not this one. I plagiarized this from Jeff Watson, parts of it. But I didn't plagiarize the whole thing. I did a lot of research. I pulled it from a whole bunch of people. And when you steal from a whole bunch of people, it's called research. Okay? So I didn't steal all of his stuff there. I could talk for 15 hours on that right there. And one talk yesterday, and I'm going to pull into something that and then I'm going to try to get through my slides. But let me just say a few things before I get started. Jeff Watson's talk yesterday really touched me for a lot of reasons. And you've heard the word freedom a lot from a lot of folks in here. You've heard peace. You've heard the word peace a lot. And what I want to accomplish up here today is to get you to look through the lenses of freedom and peace for you. And I want you to look through the lenses of freedom and peace for other people. And I think Jeff Watson's talk yesterday was really about freedom and peace. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And there's a key word in there, pursuit. Okay? But what a lot of people don't know, and he had it in the little red caption there, when the founding fathers first wrote that, they wrote life, liberty, and property. That's right. Life, liberty, and personal property. And what Jeff talked about yesterday was those that are attempting to take our property rights away from us. They're like the little Pac-Man. They're nibbling. They start over here nibbling, and they work all over. If you haven't done this thing and signed up for the hero and commit to let your voice heard, you need to do it, okay? Touched me a lot. That touched me a lot. I'm not going to point her out. There's a lady in this audience who lived under communism with her family till she was 8 years old. You should hear the stories about her family and what they give swimming across the Danube River getting shot at because they wanted freedom, okay? And if they didn't get killed, they put them in prison 5 years. And if they didn't get, they tried again, they threw them away. I mean, forever. They were gone. So what are you willing to do for freedom and peace? Sign up, do that, okay? I want you to look at everything about your life through the lens of freedom and peace. And as you look at other people, and I want to use a couple of examples, tell you one story, and then I'm going to try to get through my slides, okay? Jeff Watson's is an example. But real quick, along with that, the tenants up there, what is this group of people trying to make the tenants out to be? What? Victims. I heard somebody say it. They want them to be victims. And I've studied that, and I've thought about that a lot lately. If you take maybe the scales of justice or a seesaw or whatever you want to talk about, and you put gratitude on one side and victim on the other. And victims are not happy people. Have you seen the anger on these people's faces that are victims and portray themselves as victims? I think happiness, I think gratitude comes before happiness. You've heard Adam talk about it. You heard Chuck talk about it yesterday. When he changed his way of thinking, he quit being a victim, started thinking about other people. And if you think about gratitude, the more you have gratitude, and there's nobody that expresses gratitude more than Jim Ingersoll. Would y'all agree with that? Don't you see him? Don't you see him post all the time what I'm thankful for? I see John Morey do it a lot too. But gratitude, if you're focusing on everything that you're grateful for, you're leaving victimhood and you're entering the world of victorhood. Okay? So I'll get off that soapbox. Freedom and peace there. Alicia, yesterday, is she in the room by chance? If she's not, that's okay. But if you view everything through the lens of freedom and peace, what was she selling yesterday? Through her systems, through automation, through delegation, and all those things, she was helping you that want to be short-term landlords, whatever you want to call it, a way to have freedom and peace. That's what she was selling. Paul White in the back of the room back there. Yesterday, he's a retired orthodontist. I have a quick story I want to tell you. I have a cousin, you can look her name up. Her name is Carla Davis. I'm not too emotional either, but Carla's mother was killed in a motorcycle accident when Carla was 5 years old. Carla's mother didn't know who Carla's daddy was. It was one of those deals, okay? Carla ends up living with her grandmother, who raised her and a bunch of other grandkids on welfare. When she was about 11 years old, she had buck teeth that stuck out like that. Kids made fun of her at school. She was a mad little girl, angry at the world, mad at her mother dying on her. But one day, she found herself in an orthodontist chair. And her grandmother was there. And the orthodontist said, "Little girl, I'm going to fix your teeth, but your grandma don't have the money to pay for it. And when you grow up, you owe me $1,000. So he put the braces on her teeth, fixed her teeth. And by the way, you guys, how many of you thought you was coming to a real estate seminar? You're coming to a people seminar, okay? You're coming to a life seminar. But anyway, changed her whole life. Changed her life. She worked her way through college, got a degree in nutrition. I'm going to make this short story. She met a young guy that was getting his degree in business. Happened to be a Saudi whose family owned a Fortune 100 company in Saudi Arabia. She married him. They've been very good. She's got all the money in the world at her disposal. She wanted to find out who her daddy was. That was her quest. Through private detectives, learning DNA, genealogy, she went on to find out who her dad was. You know, it cost her a lot of money. But she learned so much, and she was so excited about that. She's united over 300 adoptees with her parents, and now she is solving these John Does and Jane Does. That they did one the other day that was like 50 years old, and she's funding all this out of her pocket. So how does that relate to freedom and peace? You see, an orthodontist gives people freedom and peace. If you look at it through that lens, he gives folks the freedom to smile, the peace to be able to smile and know you're not going to be made fun of. I don't care what it is, you can look at it through the lens of freedom and peace. And Jim asked me to talk about how that relates to real estate. Okay, so I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to get through these slides, and we'll go with it. And look, we're not talking about world peace or whatever. Let's talk, and yeah, we like that, but that's almost never been. There's a lot of countries right now where there's slavery going on. There's always been slavery going on. It's going on now. I contend that anybody that's in a communist, Marxist regime country is a slave to that. And all I can say about what I've said already, don't be a victim. Look at all the things you can have gratitude for, okay? Little about life. So first of all, what does your freedom and peace look like? What does it look like? Have you thought about it lately? Have you found yourself in a trap? Does money make you happy? I contend the things in life that make you happy aren't things. You look at the folks that, celebrities, and how some of their lives are messed up, okay? So what does your freedom and peace look like? Do you have freedom and peace in your life right now? If not, what can you do to change that? What can you do? You need more time? That's not Tom when he was a beggar, okay? That was supposed to be funny. But, you know, this guy here, bad things happen to good people, okay? But the odds are the person made a choice. They made a choice about, man, I like my time. I'm going to go do what I'm going to do. I'm not going to pay a price to make any money. I'm not, and this guy, he doesn't have much financial freedom, more than likely. He's got to worry about what he's got to eat today and where he's, you know, if it's going to rain or if it's going to be cold or whatever. What about money? What about my good friend Elon? You know, his mom was naming him after me, and they got the first two letters mixed up there. And so anyway, he's had to live with Elon all of his life, poor guy. But, you know, I don't know if you know much about him, but in the last 12 or 15 years, He works 15, 18 hours a day, sleeps on the floor in the office. He's paid an unbelievable price for where he is. And by the way, the guy laying on the concrete, he's probably happy. He might be happy. That might be what he wants, okay? How many of you think you would like to have Elon's life? He tried to take a week off a few years ago. About halfway through his week off, one of his rockets blew up. So he had to come in. So he has no time freedom, not really, okay? And when he does, how many employees does he have that he cares about and is concerned about and on and on and on? Which life do you want? Okay? You have to decide that. I know there's some people in this room that are extremely successful, but they're, it's the tail that wags the dog for them. Okay? I know Bill Cook, he decides he wants to take 3 weeks off and walk the Appalachian Trail. He goes and does it. That's freedom and peace to me, to be able to have that, to go do it. It goes real slow, huh? I contend that we're all somewhere in between on the freedom and peace thing. And you just kind of have to decide where it is for you. To me, it was more, look there, I'm hitting this thing. To me, it was more about time than dollars. Now, dollars matter though, right? So, you got to do that, but don't become a slave to the dollar. I love to fish, fly fish, whatever, And I developed another little saying the other day. The time wasted fishing is time well wasted. Would you agree with that, huh? But I have the freedom to go to other states and other parts of the world to fly fish. Yeah, that's right. But dollars do matter. And a long time ago, when I was in my 20s probably, I came up with the idea that I wanted to be able to get up in the morning and go do anything I wanted to do that day, and my income not be based on what I did that day. Okay? So that says a lot right there. I didn't have this specific goal. Maybe it took me a while to a little longer to get there than maybe Tom, but that's kind of the way I look at it. And I didn't realize that I was defining freedom and peace, financial freedom. And Chuck had a slide yesterday. I could refer back to a whole bunch of slides. Chuck had a slide about 4 or 5 things he was had freedom from. Remember that slide? Freedom from. Freedom can mean a lot of things. Freedom from credit card debt, freedom from this and that and the other, and freedom to a lot of things, okay? There's no right answers. Everybody has their own goals. Everybody has different values. And thank God right now we're still in a country that we can halfway exercise all that. It's an individual choice. And mostly where we've ended up is because of choices that we've made. And it boils down to what price you're willing to pay for what you want out of life. What price are you willing to pay? And that check right there is not a bank account check. That check right there is a check of life. How many years, how many months, how many weeks, how many days, how many hours that you're going to live. And we all have a finite deal. You can write a check and overdraft, but you're not going to overdraft on your days, okay? And you have to decide where what you're going to do with that time. How am I going to spend that time? Someone said up here, I think it was Daniel or whoever, that time is the most valuable thing in this world that we have. And I tell people all the time, the most important thing in time value of money is time, okay? most important thing is time. You know, that old exponential curve. But this one here, you're limited on time. And if you're willing to do something that others won't do for 5 to 10 years, you can do what others can't do the rest of your life. Does that make sense? So decide what price you're willing to pay. The guy laying on the bench, the price he's paying is no financial freedom. The price Elon's paying is no time freedom for the most part. But he's happy what he's doing. Did I lose it? Okay. Most people are just kind of lost. I tell people all the time, when you climb the corporate ladder, you make sure it's leaning against the right building. I've seen doctors and all kinds of people that spend enormous mentally energy and money to get to a certain point, and they get to that point and they're not happy. Make sure that ladder's leaning against the right building. And we'll talk a little bit about real estate, okay? It's different pathways. Last week I was in a conference in San Antonio, 3 days, about 100 people. I got to meet just about everybody in the room. And guess what everybody's goal was, they thought. They didn't know it was freedom and peace. But, man, they wanted to buy notes. They wanted to learn how to sell notes. They wanted to know how to create notes. They wanted to learn how to buy partials, how to sell partials, all of those. And then I come over here, and it's a whole different world. There's people who want to, and you talk to somebody about buy and hold over there. Oh, man, I can't stand tenants. I just, no way I would have tenants, and it's just a whole different world. So there's a lot of pathways to financial success, freedom and peace success. We're lucky in this business that we have all those different pathways. Everybody's path of freedom and peace is different. And that's okay. Thank goodness. I praise God for people who like to trade hours for dollars. Daniil said it. He called it transactional. What did he call it? Transactional. Transactional income. I call it trading hours for dollars. And as Pete Fortunato says, I've stolen a lot from him. I had mentors too, okay? Learn how to convert your labor-based income into capital-based income. And it's 15.3% less taxes too, by the way. But I'm not going to get real technical about all that. And these paths change. There was a time in my life that, hey, I was busting it like Elon. Okay? I was busting it. Long hours, high stress. But after a while, I was able to work out of that, and our paths change. And I'm at a point in my life that another $1 million a year is not going to make me happy. How many people in here want to win the lottery? Raise your hands high. Don't look at you. Look, everybody look around. I'm going to tell you something. When you buy that lottery ticket, what you're hoping you get is not multi-million dollars. You're hoping for freedom and peace, but I'm going to tell you something. It would disrupt your life so much that it would steal your freedom and peace. You can count on that. Just think about it. You'd think it wouldn't. There's a study that was done that said that after someone earns enough to have a nice home, nice car to drive, not worry about paying their bills, any more money above that's not going to make you any happier. And that's a fact. I think that's true, okay? And our paths change. And in my situation, I'm not out there looking to kill it. I'm not going to scale up. I'm scaling down. You know, my pathway has kind of changed here. My goals have changed a little bit. Now, don't think that an old dog doesn't still like to hunt, but and don't think that I won't take a low-hanging fruit. But I'm taking a little different pathway now. Maybe a few more notes. Okay, I'm still learning. I went to a note deal last week. All right, you never stop learning in this business, and that's what's fun. That's why I like fly fishing, because you never stop learning. Okay? And the other thing is, life is filled with trade-offs. I don't care what you do, you're going to have to give up something to get something. You give up your time, more money, whatever. There's always trade-offs. There's no solutions. There's always trade-offs. I don't know what's going to come up here next. We'll see. Nothing's coming up. There we go. And these trade-offs are not only for you, but they're for everybody that you come in contact with. Everybody you deal with is having to deal with these trade-offs, okay? And I want you to keep thinking in terms of freedom and peace as we go through this, okay? Our challenge is help others to find, and how many times have we heard somebody steal my talk about Zig Ziglar? If you help enough other people get what they want, you can have anything you want. And I drill down, and you tell me all your goals and all you want, and I'll say, no, you don't. There's a young lady in here, she was telling me, you know, about the houses. I want a house in every state and every free country in the world, and I think that's awesome. That's a great goal. But what she really wants is freedom and peace. She wants the freedom to travel around, peace to sit out in Milan, Italy, or do whatever she wants to do, you know. And so if we figure out a way to help others find freedom and peace, like to smile, like the orthodontist. By the way, in case you didn't know it, a smile will increase your face value. And what Paul did all through those years, he's helped thousands of people increase their face value. And they were willing to pay dearly for that freedom to smile freely. Does that make sense? Okay. So we got to find, and so how do we do that? The only way you're going to find out how you can help people is ask questions. And asking questions is actually biblical. It's biblical. Ask, okay? And man, I had big discussions last week down in San Antonio about introverts and extroverts. And I've heard it a whole bunch of times since I've been here. So I've got something to help the extroverts here in just a little bit. But we ask questions. And, you know, there's a lot of questions that we can ask. And this one I ask everywhere. Raise your hand if you're in this room and I've asked you where you are from originally. Look around. There's just about a whole bunch of people. You see that? You do it everywhere you go. If I'm in a Mexican restaurant and it's a Hispanic, ¿Dónde naciste usted? Where were you born? Okay? Good time it's not Mexico. But it's something about that question that gets you all kinds of answers. And did I ask you that? Huh? I asked her in Spanish. She said, no, I'm from Romania. Would you mind my saying she's that 8-year-old girl? She was that 8-year-old girl. She got incredible stories she can tell you. But a lot of times I find if they have time, you're going to find out their whole life story from where. So they start out originally, but I moved to so-and-so and went to college, and then I went to so-and-so, and I did such and such kind of job, and it'll get a whole bunch of answers for you that lets them know I'm okay, you're okay, all right? And it gets better. It gets a little better. If you're sitting in their house, you ask them Pete Fortunato's question, why would you want to sell a nice home like this? Now, I've been in a few houses I couldn't ask them Woo! It was bad. But, you know, that first question can break the ice. I sold a boat to somebody in Dallas, and I was in Branson, Missouri. Quick little story. I come up from fly fishing, and I've had this boat. I've got so many friends up there, I quit taking my boat up there because I'd be in 3 different friends' boats in 1 week. So I come up the steps, and there's a whole bunch of people sitting around and lawn chairs, and I said, "Where are you guys from?" "Well, we're from St. Louis. This guy's from Dallas." So I stopped. I said, "Well, you can't catch any fish sitting up here." And so they all started talking, one lady more than the other, kind of introducing anybody. And the one guy said, "Well, look, you know, I'm fixing to go to Baldwin, Michigan and buy a Stealthcraft boat. I'm going to have one made." And I said, "Well, won't you buy mine?" He said, "Well, let me see some pictures." I showed him some pictures. "How much you want?" "I'll take it." And I'm thinking, okay. So we exchanged numbers, and I told him it's going to be a week or more before I get home, and he was going home the next day. I texted him. No, he texted me and said, "Would you send me some pictures of that boat?" And then shortly after that, he texted me back, and he said, "I'll be at your house Wednesday morning with a cashier's check." All because I asked those folks sitting there, "Where are you from originally?" I wasn't intending to sell them anything, but you do that everywhere you go, and you practice. You introverts practice, okay? And when you get sitting in that house, it makes it a little easier to ask that first question. And then when you get into the deal, you ask them that. But questions are really important. You want to find out about their jobs, where they went to school, all about them. You want to find out about their family and children. And boy, that children one is a really important one. You want to find out what you have in common. You know, who you know, just those kind of things. You want to kind of find out what their goal is and what their itch is. You ever had an itch that was some spot you couldn't scratch, and it's just really, and I mean, I'm talking bad, okay? Now, this thing's bad. What would you do to get that itch scratched? Find out what their itch is. And you know, see what the opportunity is for you and them to bring them freedom and peace, okay? And you gain rapport and an ally by asking questions. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. They don't care, okay? Let me ask y'all something, and I want you to think fast, answer fast. What's the opposite of love? Everybody says hate. Just about it. There's probably a few that didn't. But hate's not the opposite of love. You know what it is? Indifference, apathy, okay? Asking questions about people gives them a sense that you care. And you really should care. All right, for the introverts, here's a reason to ask questions, okay? Don't be afraid. You think you're going to offend people? You think you're going to get rejected? No. You ever show a house, a rental or a house or something, and the people come in and they walk through and they look at everything, they check everything out, and they go right out the door, and they don't say a word? They don't ask a question? They don't do anything? I'd rather them say, "You know what, that kitchen just sucks. The color in here," I'd rather them tell me something, you know. Just don't leave me hanging. But there's something about asking people questions about them that gives you rapport. I don't know what it is. It's kind of magical, you know. It lets them know you care. Does that make sense? That's a big deal, in my opinion. So it shows empathy when you're asking questions, not apathy. Apathy is you don't care. You're not, you know, I don't care enough to ask questions. I don't care who you are, and I don't want to know anything about you, and I don't like the way you look, you know. So that's a big deal right there. Big deal. Y'all thought you were coming to a real estate seminar. This thing's more about people and people's lives and learning how to bring people freedom and peace than it is an inanimate object, sticks, bricks, and dirt that's been kind of all crammed together there. Okay? Think about that. That's a big deal. So it's more about people and people's lives and solving their problems. So real estate is really a vehicle that can bring freedom and peace to you and to others. And you got to learn a few things. I got that at the top of the list, people management. And then, of course, yeah, you got to learn a little bit about sticks, bricks, and dirt, you know, budgets, air conditioning going out, those kind of things. Learn tax laws, real estate laws. You know, there's a whole bunch of things that you can learn. And what's this all about? What does Jim say? Your network is your net worth. And it takes time to do that. It takes time to build that. You don't do it in a day. You do it by being honest and trustworthy and competent. I think Courtney might have showed that already. I like her little avatar deal on there better than mine, but think about that. I don't do any marketing, but I get 2 or 3 calls every day on my cell phone or through Facebook messaging or something, somebody with a problem to solve, just about. From around the country, from my neighborhood, you know, just people I've gotten to know, and it takes time. So that's a biggie. Work on that network. And if you're an introvert, don't forget to ask questions. That helps. Just be sure to do that. There was a little young lady out in the lobby the other morning, and I come down to breakfast. I got here Sunday, and Monday morning I was down to breakfast there, and she was sitting over there. And, of course, when you go to a seminar, you think everybody in the whole hotel's come for what you came for, you know. And she's sitting over there, and I kind of glanced over her way, and she glanced over my way, and I said, "Are you here for Dealmaker?" She said, "No, my husband's an engineer, and he's upstairs teaching a deal Monday and Tuesday, and we get to talking and back and forth." I said, "Well, just come sit with me." So she comes over and sits with me, and we talk for a little while. And she told me, I mentioned something about introverts and extroverts that I'd talked to some folks, you know, about. And by the way, anybody in here know Goodwin Yee? Goodwin Yee, great guy. You know what he told me about being an introvert? He told me it cost him 20 years of success by being an introvert and being afraid to ask questions and such before he got out of it. I meant to say that back on that other slide. But anyway, back to where we are here. I think the greatest investment that anybody can make is in their education. Of course, Jimmy Napier, a lot of you knew Jimmy. He was a personal friend, and maybe he stole that from somebody, I don't know, but I give Jimmy credit for it. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Think what ignorance costs you by not knowing something. One of my good friends, Terrell Sheen, one time I went to a Jack Miller seminar in San Francisco about 18 years ago or something, and Terrell and I are sitting there, and he said, "You know, I think this is the 8th time I sat through this." He said, "I'm scared not to show up. What if I didn't show up the day they were talking about 1031s? What if the day I didn't show up they were talking about such or whatever, you know?" So spend some money on education. Now, who can we help by bringing freedom and peace? Adam and Courtney's already covered this, and everybody else did too, just about it. But so I'm going to go through this fast. Retiring investors, out-of-town owners. I've got stories I could tell you about all of these. I've got a little bit of time left. I paid Rita $100 to give me 15 minutes extra. out-of-town owners, all those folks, you know, we can tell story after story about these folks. And like Adam said, the more you stack these, the more likelihood that you're going to be able to bring them freedom and peace. Think freedom and peace when you see any one of these, okay? Don't be thinking, how can I make a buck out of this deal? Like Chuck said, how can I help these folks? How can I bring them freedom and peace? You do that to enough of them, you can have anything you want. Do they have children? I want to spend a second on that. I tell people this all the time when I'm talking to folks that I'm going to make an offer with terms, especially the dirty words, seller finance, owner finance, creative finance. Don't ever say those words to a seller, because the answer is no, okay? You don't ever say that. But one of the most important questions you can ask these folks is, do you have children? And this thing says 13 minutes. I know, I'm kidding, I'll hurry. So the most important thing you can ask them is, do you have children? Why is that? Well, let me tell you, when interest rates were about 2.5% and the market, everything stayed on the market and it sold in 5 minutes and got bidded up. One year we bought 4 houses from folks that were over 70 years old. We got 30-year financing with 3% interest or less and no balloons. How in the world do you do that? They had children. And I asked them, did they have children up front? Okay? And the minute they tell me, they come up with an objection, I don't buy green bananas. I say, well, what are you going to do when you go to heaven? You going to pile all that money up on a table and leave it for them? Or you going to let me or my kids send your kids payments every month so they'll think about you every month when they get a check? That's powerful, folks. That'll help you, those people think. The other day I said to a 94-year-old that, and he got the biggest grin on his face and he high-fived me. 94 years old. He was ready to do a 360-month deal, no balloon. Okay? And I will tell you this, last July the 1st, I was out of town, and one of the guys I do some joint ventures with, he and I bought a house, nothing down, $500 a month for 397 payments, and the seller was 73 years old. 397 payments. Okay? Why would he do that? Probably don't have time to tell you, but find out if they have children. That's a big deal. And of course, vacant, owes back taxes, free and clear, all those things. You guys have that already. Non-paying tenants, you know. I got a story about that one that I don't have time to tell you. But ask yourself, how can I bring freedom and peace to these people? Chuck's deal. I'll bring that up in a second, Chuck. Your deal. But one thing you want to be careful is you don't destroy your freedom and peace when you do one of these deals. Okay? They might be in quicksand. You throw them a rope, Jack Miller, and pull them out. But if you jump in there with them and push them out, you're in the quicksand, and you just lost your freedom and peace. So you have to be careful about it. You look at it in all these regards. And creative financing. Why do I like creative financing so much? There's been 2 or 3 people up here. Daniil was one of them, and boy, did he hit home on some really good stuff. But he mentioned something. How did he say it? I call it, no, I don't call it this, but you hear it called, the bankers say, let us revisit the interest rates. And he used another word. I forget what that word was. You know, like when that 5-year, I call them balloon loans that you may or may not negotiate on. And there's a lot of people got in serious trouble over that. And that's the way banks, a lot of commercial banks and stuff design these loans. And I can't have freedom and peace if I know I've got a balloon coming due. Balloons are for clowns. Okay? Remember that? But I can design creative financing that solves their problem and doesn't make me lose my freedom and peace. That's why I love creative financing. And there's so many, we could talk for a week about creative financing. But let me tell you what it's not about. It's not about cheating people. It's not about being slick. It's not about slip-shucking folks. It's not about skinning the sheep. You can shear a sheep a whole bunch of times, but you can only skin him one time. And what you've got to be is not greedy. Jimmy Napier used to say that greed kills the borrower and the lender. I've added to that. Greed kills the borrower and the lender, the buyer and the seller. Greed kills the mentor and the mentee. Greed kills the lessor and the lessee. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Okay? If you're new, be willing to share. If you can bring a deal to somebody and split the deal with them. I've had cases where guys would bring deals, want me to do the whole thing, and didn't want to share it. Be willing to pay for that education, and that's one way of doing it. Be a long-term thinker. So important, so important. And beware of short-term thinkers. They will screw you over. They will take you, and they'll go hunt for somebody else to do it again. So don't be a short-term thinker. That's a whole talk in itself right there. Things to remember. Courtney said it. The relief of distress carries rewards greater than price. And I recently added terms. I want to refer to Chuck right quick. Chuck said something the other day that touched me. He had some relief of distress when that guy bought his house. Do y'all remember what Chuck said? What did you say about that? I don't care if the guy makes $100,000. The relief of distress was a greater reward than what he gave up, the price he gave up. Okay? Well, let me tell you something else. When you're solving people's problems and bringing them freedom and peace, do it through terms. Discount terms when you can. Does that make sense? People will do terms that you would never dream that they will do for the relief of distress. Think about that. That is deep, deep, deep. I got to hurry. That right there is a Bill Cook deal right there. I've got to give him credit for it. I think I stole that from you, the one in the middle. Didn't I?
I'm sure I stole it from somebody else.
Yeah. But people act to overcome unfavorable circumstances. And don't think that, they're going to act rationally. And I know I'm out of time, Jim. I'm going to hurry through this. And if anybody wants to see the rest of this, we can get together, But don't assume because they won't do it. You got to figure out what's going to bring them freedom and peace, okay? Real estate's an imperfect market. There's a lot of myths. You're not buying the market. You're buying individual deals. I don't care how good the economy is. There's imperfections that you can go buy. I'm hurrying. Everyone's freedom and peace are the same? Not. People will give up something. It doesn't have to make sense to us. You don't have the right to make up somebody else's mind. I'm getting to something real quick that I'd like to cover right at the end. Ask questions. If folks think you're trustworthy and competent, they'll do business with you. But if not, they're going to need some collateral because that's their peace. They can get peace from collateral. If I were starting out again today, what would I do? I think I would learn property management. Okay? And if I had no money, starting out today, didn't know anybody, I would go learn property management the best I could because it's a currency. and I do performance master leasing. I know I talked to a gentleman in here that feels like that maybe you can't do it in his state. Is there a state bill where you can't do master leasing?
Master lease can be done everywhere.
And can you be a realtor and do it?
Yes.
Okay, Jeff.
You can only, it's not permitted in the state of negativity.
Oh, yeah, there you go. There you go. I love it.
Where else it's permitted?
Okay, all right. Thank you. I appreciate that. And if that gentleman's interested, talk to us about that. Performance-based master leasing. It's a big deal. You can grow a tremendous cash flow, especially in these areas where the property values are so high that you can't buy it and rent it without having negative cash flow. You know, do some wholesaling. I would take every real estate course offered at local colleges, okay? I would go to broker school, and I probably wouldn't take the test. That was the advice I gave my kids. Go to broker school, but don't ever take the test. Oh, yeah. Seek out the best real estate conferences and go to them over and over again. Go to your local RIAs like Chuck did and get to start building your network through those areas. And you know, I like to appeal to the people that's just starting out, that just done one or two deals. If you've never watched the Steve Trang interview on real estate disruptors, go watch that I did with him a long time ago. And somebody else has said this, I'll say it again, give your efforts time to compound. A guy not in the real estate business, another mentor of mine in another life, told me that a long time ago. And time goes by super fast, more than you would know. And time is the most important element in the time value of money. Give your efforts time to compound. Don't jump out so quick. You know, you start out with that little seed, and before long you're a big, beautiful tree. And did Courtney do this one? I was mad and upset when I wrote that. I jumped out of the shower and wrote it down. That was the best thing that came out of that relationship with that person. And don't think there's not people out there that want to take your freedom and peace away. Don't let that happen, okay? They're out there. A lot of folks that says landlords are bad, they want to take your freedom and peace and make you a victim. Anything that makes you a victim, it's evil, okay? Don't be a victim to anything. And try to inject and look at everything through the lenses of freedom and peace. And I'm sorry I ran over.
No. No.
That's it.